Tuesday is 5:30 instead of 6:30.
Okay.
The one below is correct. Thank you.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me well? Awesome. My name is Sandrine Pilas, and I'm going to be your program coordinator for today. Welcome to All Souls, whether you are a long-time member or a first-time member, you are welcome here. All Souls is an open-minded community of compassionate thinkers and doers, and I'm so grateful for each one of you to be here today. Whatever your race, your gender, your personal belief, your socioeconomic background, you are all welcome and loved here. Whoever you are, whomever you love, you are welcome. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone that made this service possible today. A big thank you to you, Carol, for the gift of music you're bringing today, for Jessie Lee and Terry for the sound, all the spiritual education team with Izumi, Rebecca, and Chavelle, and I'm thanking Dr. Greg Johnson, our guest speaker for today, for coming. Inside the bulletin of service, you will find announcements in this little page. So a couple of things. There are a meeting for the Sunday morning program team on March 12th at 5:30 and not 6:30 as it's written here. The church board meeting on March 14th at 6:30. Ecstatic dance on March 15th from 6:30 to 8:30. The ungroup meeting at Monks on March 20th at 5. And the Women's Circle for Women on March 15th from 7 to 8:30. Other announcements are that we have a couple of beverages from a previous event few days ago, and it's downstairs and available for you to bring home. We don't need them to stay in the congregation, so just as you go downstairs for coffee later, you are welcome to grab whatever you want. Alan and Liz they have another announcement for you. So it's next week, right, Alan?
Saturday.
Saturday at 2, there is the St. Patrick Parade downtown, and All Souls will be present, and a banner has been made, and we are hoping to pick interest for people who would like to be part of the parade next Saturday at 2 p.m. Yes, yes. Yeah, if you have any other announcement, please come ahead.
My name is Eric. The Unitarian Universalists have had summer camps across the nation throughout all the years. And one of the closest summer camps is up in northern Minnesota, up by Bemidji. It's called Unistar, so think of UNI star. And this is a camp and has 1 week long program. So every week is a different program throughout the summer. And it's held on an island in the middle of a lake. No cars, no televisions, radio's quiet. It's just a splendid retreat to be with a lot of other like-minded folks. You can take part in the program, or you can go sailing, or hiking, or reading, or do nothing. So I would encourage you, if you're interested on a pleasant week's vacation, to look up Camp Unistar through the Unitarian Universalist Association camps, or you can talk to most of the long-term members here. A lot of us have been there. We can answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Are there any other announcements that haven't been shared and needs to be shared? No? Okay. Well, Carol, thank you. Thank you. You're the best.
What a team, what a team. Can I light the candle?
I have someone. I'm good. Thank you, Carol. Let the worship service begin with the lighting of the chalice. Liz, can you come help me, please? I invite you to open your hymnal book, page 442, for the opening words. I didn't give you one. I'm going to give you one too. Yes. I will read the Roman size, and I will let you tag along with me for the italicized. We bid you welcome. We bid you welcome, who come with weary spirit seeking rest. We bid you welcome, who come with hope in your heart. We bid you welcome, who are seekers of a new faith. We we bid you welcome who enter this hall as a homecoming. Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are on your journey. Those words are from Richard Gilbert. Now I invite you to keep your hymnal book, page 108, for the first song of this service. My life flows on an endless song. Please stand up as you are able. Now I invite you for the first reading to open your book, your hymnal book, page 660. To live deliberately. I will read the Roman and I will let you follow with me for the italicized. To live deliberately. Why should we live in such a hurry and waste of life?
Determined to start before we are hungry.
I wish to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life.
I wish to learn what life has to teach, and not, when I come to die, discover I have not lived.
I do not wish to live what is not life. Living is so dear.
Nor do I wish to practice resignation, unless it is quite necessary.
I wish to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life.
I want to cut a raw swath, to drive life into a corner, and reduce it to its lowest terms.
If it proves to be mean, then to go get the whole and genuine meanness of it and publish its meanness to the world.
For it is sublime to know it by experience, and be able to give it comfort.
Words for the UU, Henry David Thoreau. Now it is the time for the story of all ages. I invite all the children to come in front. And I have a special guest today that I wanted to read a story for everybody. Mathieu, do you want the mic? No? Okay, I'm gonna be next to you. Hi, Lori. Hi, Emily. Actually, oh, I'm sorry. Okay. use. Okay, I will hold that for you, okay?
The rabbit listened. One day, Taylor decided to build something new, something special, something amazing. Taylor was so proud. But then, out of nowhere, things came crashing down. The chicken was the first to notice. Cluck, cluck, what a shame. I'm so sorry this happened. Let's talk about it. Cluck, cluck. But Taylor didn't feel like talking, so the chickens left. Next came the bear. Grrr, how horrible. I bet you feel so angry. Let's shout about it. Grrr, grrr. But Taylor didn't feel like shouting. So the bear left. The elephant knew just what to do. Trubba-da, I can fix this. We just need to remember exactly that way things were. But Taylor didn't feel like remembering, so the elephant also left. One by one they came. The hyena, hee hee, let's laugh about it. The ostrich, gulp, let's hide and pretend nothing happened. The kangaroo, task, what a mess, let's throw it all away. And the snake, shh, let's go knock down someone else. Knock down someone else. But Taylor didn't feel like doing anything with anybody, so eventually they all left, until Taylor was alone. In a quiet, Taylor didn't even notice the rabbit, but it moved closer and closer until Taylor could feel its warm body. Together they sat in silence until Taylor said, "Please stay with me." The rabbit listened as Taylor talked. The rabbit listened as Taylor shouted. The rabbit listened as Taylor remembered and laughed. The rabbit listened to Taylor's plans and hide, to throw everything away, to run things for someone, to ruin things for someone else. Though the rabbit, he never left. And when the time was right, the rabbit listened to Taylor's plan to build again. "I can't wait," Taylor said. "It's going to be amazing." The end.
What did you think about the story? Did you like it? Yes.
We have that one at home.
You do. It's a good story. Sometimes you don't need to do much. You just need to be a good presence and be ready to listen. And that makes a big of a difference. Thank you. We're going to sing you out to go downstairs with Izumi. Thank you for coming. Now I would like to invite you to one of my favorite traditions here in this congregation, sharing our joys and concerns. I invite you to be brief and just come here in line so the flow is good and smooth. So we have found very valuable here in this congregation to share the ups and downs of our lives by coming up here and taking a stone from the bowl here, holding it in your hand and expressing whatever is light or heavy in your heart. And then you place the stone in the bowl right here in the water, so the ripples of the water carry out your joys and concern into the wider world. I'm gonna start today. I'm very grateful for the opportunity of being here today and talk about death. It's something, it's a topic I've always been very fascinated, not in a morbid way, even get a tattoo to remind my own mortality. And I think it's something that it needs to be talked about, and we're not gonna jinx anything. It's just an important topic. And as I was getting ready for this service yesterday, I was also getting ready to prepare for a mother blessing for a friend who is pregnant. And it was just beautiful to think about the threshold of life, and birth and death are just so intertwined. So grateful for Dr. Johnson today to be here and share some messages about that. I invite you to come over here and feel free to share.
Name's Edie Ann Hafke, but everybody calls me Edie around here. Today would have been my great aunt Auntie's 104th birthday. And so I wish her well up there in heaven. And we need to think about some of the people that are still at home with me, and I hope that they're all doing well and enough. And next week it's going to be St. Patty's Day, so everybody wear green, hopefully, or some kind of green.
Thank you, Edie.
Hi, my name's Dan Reiki, and I know that John Cunningham, our president of our congregation, had cracked his hip. He fell and cracked his hip. I don't know if y'all know that, and I've been in communication with him, and I asked how you doing, and he says, slowly. So anyway, this stone is for John to have the patience as he recovers from that fractured hip. And I have a stone, and I guess I'll give kind of a pretty one. Wish I could be green for us, JC, but this coming weekend, JC and I are going to be playing some Irish Baroque. Doesn't sound quite right. We'll be playing some violin duet music at Touchmark of All Saints this Saturday. So that's fun, and that's a joyful thing that keeps me wanting to live very much. Mm-hmm. So looking forward to that.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Hi, I'm Steve. Couple things, quick things. Last September, my wife tore a ligament in her ankle, and 2 weeks ago, she had surgery on it. I'm joyful that physically she's doing well. I'm concerned about her mental health, but that's another story. And I'm also concerned about the situation in Iran. Okay, I'm tired. Ukraine is the word I'm looking for. I'm also concerned about the other countries and how people are abandoning them, it seems like. So.
Thank you.
want to give a stone of gratitude for at least two people that came out for the work day yesterday. Liz and Dan, thanks very much for your good hard work. There wasn't anybody else, I don't think. Okay, so thank you very much.
Hi, my name is LJ Pilaz, and so during the day, I study the brain at Stanford Research, and at night, I carve cells out of wood. The cells I look at in the microscope during the day, at night I go and carve them. And so these past few months, I moved my shop from my Mostal garage to a bigger workshop in T. So kind of the reason why I haven't been around lately. I was doing double duty of setting up the shop and working with orders.
Thank you.
Well, I'm Janet, and I've had a rough couple of weeks. I met with my psychiatrist a few weeks ago, and we both agreed that I probably didn't need that little pill. Well, I forgot all about it, and I started feeling really strange. And a lot of lightheadedness, dizziness, and then the next thing I knew, I was getting chest tightness. And so I ended up in the emergency room thinking I was having a heart attack one day. And in retrospect, it was an anxiety attack. But, you know, I figured all that out afterwards, and I talked to a couple doctors and a couple of my doctors and the psychiatrist, and said, I think that little pill was doing more than we thought it was. So I'm glad to be back on it.
Thank you, Janet. Okay. I'm going to add one final stone for all the joys and concerns that we kept for ourselves, and allow maybe a few minutes of silence for all of that. Thank you. Now I invite you to open your hymnal book, page 183, for the song, The Winds of Change Forever Blown. So we're gonna sing this song, but use the tune of the song, page 225. So, and we're gonna sing the first fourth, I don't know, let's see, song 2. I think we can go with the 4. Yeah, let's do the 4 verses.
Tomorrow's a born priest.
Now I invite you to open the hymnal book, page 527, for the second reading. Immortality. It is eternity now. I am in the midst of it. It is about me in the sunshine. I am in it, as the butterfly in the light-laden air. Nothing has to come. It is now. Now is eternity. Now is the immortal life. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Dr. Gregory Johnson. Greg and Christine are dear friends to me. Dr. Johnson is an accomplished geriatrician and healthcare executive. They live in Sioux Falls with their 2 daughters, and both of them are the co-founders of 2 stores here in town called Fair Market. If you haven't check it out yet, I highly recommend it. Those stores have, the goal is to tackle the local food insecurity here in town. And I think we need to have Christine one day here to talk about her mission, because it's really good work. Greg, today we shared this characteristic of not being afraid to talk about death, and I was very eager for him to be here and do his presentation. So let's give him a big welcome and hear what he has to say.
Okay, are you hearing me? Okay, good deal. All right, well, I'm going to jump right into it. We have how much time? I just want to be respectful of your...
We have about 25, 30 minutes.
Okay, let's just do that. We did collaborate a little bit in advance, so I knew that this was going to be your passage, and I thought, wow, isn't that interesting? This really is where I was headed with the talk in general. Maybe just a little sharing, like I was like, wow, I give academic talks, I have kind of a spiritual role in another place. I'm like, I'm not sure what this is, and we had coffee, so I hope this works for you. It'll be a combination, but I thought let's center ourselves on this. I think you'll see this theme in what I go through, that eternity, immortality really is now, and I hear a level of peace and maturity with that already in the sharing that I'm pleasantly, it's wonderful. So maybe this will all just be review to you. I'm going to tell this through stories, and the names are conflated, or the names are made up. But these are profiles. These are profiles that they're just common enough as a physician, and so this is 100 people, but it's one. So Mortimer is a 61-year-old male with cirrhosis. So his liver is exhausted because he drinks a lot of alcohol and doesn't have a lot of liver function left. Probably self-medicating, because Mortimer had a really hard life. I don't mean this disrespectfully, but I use the term junkyard dog sometime. I don't know if that means anything to you, but as a patient, there is a kind of patient who's just like, the staff comes and they're like, he's just mean, he's just rude, we don't want to go in the room, and the kind of person who you have to know them for a really long time to finally get in, and they're just this kind of mean, hard exterior, and that's Mortimer. And in the hospital a bit, his cirrhosis is bad, and his mental status is, he's confused from time to time, but he's been in the hospital a lot. His code status is what we'd call a full code, so he says, if my heart stops beating or if I stop breathing, I want you to do everything to bring me back from the brink of death. And then as we look on as healthcare providers, sometimes everyone's like, wow, that is just not going to go well. That is just not going to go well. And so then sometimes we'll be like, why don't you call palliative care? Now, we should all be able to have these conversations, but palliative care physicians, they're specially trained in it, and so then have a palliative care physician come in and say, what do you understand about your condition? And when they did that, Mortimer kicked them out. As soon as he got wind that we were talking about what he was very aware is on the horizon, he's like, get out, and probably has some choice words, and they leave. He comes back in the future, and we remember him, and then somebody says, well, I know. I hear he used to be a Catholic. Why don't you send the priest in? And he kicks the priest out. And so 10 hospitalizations in the last 12 months. And these periods of wellness are contracting. We're in the hospital more and more. In the epilogue, he dies on the table. You have cirrhosis. Sometimes blood backs up into veins, like, varicose veins in your legs. Well, they can get them in your throat. And so he has this unpleasant ending where the blood vessels in his esophagus, they burst. They take him on the table. They try to save him. It doesn't work. And he leaves $1 to each of his children in his will and $5,000 to his housekeeper. So I put a ton of stuff in there that maybe we can talk about later. But I show you this. Raise your hand maybe if you already know what this is, because I think a lot of people do, right? This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So fairly common, and the reason I put it up here for Mortimer, and the reason it makes so much sense when we talk about death, I'm feeling a little vulnerable because there's a neurologist or a neuroscientist in the room. But what I have always found so fascinating about this triangle is this really does describe quite well our human needs. And then I always talk like the rock, paper, scissors of life, that if like paper always does, paper always wins over rock. If there's something on a lower level that's not being satisfied, it's really hard for us to live up top. So if we don't have oxygen, food, clothing, shelter, we don't feel like we're part of a group, or we have, that we don't have self-esteem, people don't appreciate us, it's really hard for us to live at the top where it's about like vision and hope and love and giving and self-sacrifice. And if you want to make that really concrete, if I'm thinking about sharing my, sharing my breakfast cereal with you and you start choking me, I all of a sudden am feeling less, I'm all of a sudden feeling less generous because I'm looking for oxygen. So those levels, those lower levels will hijack some of our better nature. It doesn't mean that there aren't people who can learn to be that despite those challenges. But Mortimer, I feel like Mortimer's like so many, and Mortimer is stuck. Mortimer had a lot of hard things, and Mortimer's kind of stuck. And the reason also that this triangle matters here is that the triangle describes our needs, right? And then when we say, well, why not embrace life's end? Why not embrace death? Well, pretty much because it's about no oxygen, severing no safety, pain, severing connections with people, and wondering if I have a legacy or if what I really do matters. And so when we threaten everything in this triangle, and then we wonder why folks don't really want to run into that storm. So, so it takes strength to be the person who wants to walk toward that, but there's a reward on the other side. Yeah, so I think hopefully I'm leaving lots of loose ends. That's my intent, is to leave lots of loose ends so that we have something to talk about downstairs. Sophia's different, but not. Sophia is a 59-year-old female. She's diagnosed with emphysema. We call it COPD sometimes. She's diagnosed with emphysema from smoking a lot when she was 47 years old. She smoked a ton, had a really, really hard life. But she was gritty. She had a really hard life. She started a cleaning business. And that business became really quite successful. She also, kind of a fierce person, the type, but she'd give you the shirt off her back. She's not going to compliment you, she's probably not going to hug you, but you need something, she's there. And that's Sophia. And so Sophia, her emphysema, she's she carries around that's emphysema, but she won't carry around an oxygen tank. So she has increasing hospitalizations as well, and eventually ends up on a ventilator. She gets a pneumonia and already has weak lungs. She gets on a ventilator. they take her off, they wean her off the ventilator, and now she's not on the ventilator, and they say, we should call those palliative care folks again. So they call that doctor in, and the doctor says, well, what do you understand about your condition, and what do you really want? And she's like, well, I had another family member who's on a ventilator, and I don't ever want that again. It's like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to go out like that. And she makes her wishes eventually clear. This little comment in there about regret ? One time a physician said, do you know when they call you in the middle of the night and say, should you put grandma on a ventilator? And you say, oh no, yes, put her on a ventilator. You'll regret that. And I thought, oh. And then the physician said, and you know if they call you in the middle of the night and they ask you, should you put grandma on a ventilator? And you say, no, you'll regret that. And the reason is because it was in the middle of the night and it was under pressure and you didn't have time, and you will never be happy with that decision, and you can't make regret go away. And so that was part of what was communicated to Sophia, and she made a bond with this palliative care physician. Palliative care is an interesting thing. It's not just for hospital. She saw this palliative care physician then in the office afterward. He's like, I think you've got a good few years left. Your lungs, the pneumonia really turned you upside down, but I think you're close. Your lungs will never heal. So he sees her in the office again and again, and they work together. She has a really hard time giving up smoking. She has a really hard time with the idea of carrying around an oxygen tank and looking like an invalid, her words. And then she also is like, I just don't see how it sounds like you're saying I can't have my business. My business is everything to me. In fact, my business is how I grew up. My business is like how I got my head on straight. She eventually does all those things. She works with him, and she stops smoking after starting when she was 13 years old, and she stops, sells the business, starts wearing supplemental oxygen. And then the interesting thing about palliative care, and the reason I bring it out in this case story, is that she says, I really have always wanted to go to Australia too. And they're like, wow, that's going to be difficult. I mean, being on a plane, your lungs, you can't even walk very far anymore. And so the palliative care physician works with a physical therapist and with pulmonary rehab and even somebody with aviation medicine to figure out, can we make this flight happen? And everybody rallies around this one focus because she's made it very clear what she wants and doesn't want, and so then the medical team has the wherewithal to focus on just the one thing she does want, and they get her there. And she continues to live on. She takes all these other vacations. She eventually has this scholarship she sets up for young women from the town where she grew up and wish she'd had access to education. And then eventually her lungs catch up with her despite this period where things go a little better. Over 2 years, oxygen needs increase. She sees that the end is near. She involves hospice 6 months upstream, not 2 weeks, and not 2 weeks before death. And hospice works with her, and then her family is around her, and she dies. So that's Sophia. Sophia had a lot of, I'll raise your hand if you've seen this one. You guys know the Kubler-Ross? Yeah, my goodness, you guys are so woke. But I think the reason I put it here, hopefully, even though these constructs are familiar to you, maybe their use in the context of death, you're like, oh, well, the grief is already about like death, right? But people have looked at this over time and said, is this really stages of grief? Or is this just stages of change? The Kubler-Ross stages of change. And grief, or you could go out the other way and say any time that we have a change or a loss of the normal or a loss of something is grief, because as humans we just don't really like to walk into something uncomfortable and new. So I throw this up here because I'm like, she has to get rid of smoking. And this was the bunny book, right? This was the bunny book. Like the bunny sits with me and I get to be like mad about it, and I get to think about everything bad that could happen to everybody else, and I get to be I don't remember all the things he said. I'm like, that's Kubler-Ross. And the bunny, and then finally when he's done having a fit, then the bunny sits with them and like we're happy, acceptance on the other side of it. So that's an interesting. I'll have to go look at that book differently now. But this is, I think, the moral of the story on this, and I've said it 3 times, but this doesn't happen quickly. And picture a curve for smoking, a curve for selling the business, and a curve for, what was the other thing? Oh, looking like an invalid and carrying on oxygen. So she faces all 3 concurrently, and I think that you all, again, seem very in line with, okay, well, we got to live our life today. But to rush anything around the end of life, did Mortimer have a chance, really? Mortimer didn't have much for coping skills, but he certainly wasn't addressing anything, and he had a whole ton of stuff, and I don't think he's going to get it done in 2 weeks. And so Sophia is a slightly happier story, and I'd say that every major religion in the world, anyway, this is just rising out of the ashes, so love this. And then this one, my life is probably smiling. This is a real person. This is a real person, but it's a happy ending, and she's in Illinois. So I worked with a healthcare executive. We were like joined at the hip, and Tammy was about 52. What's the movie with Sandra Bullock where she like is this high-powered? Huh? She's this high-powered executive proposal. She gets married to a guy or whatever. Anyway, like on the Stairmaster in the morning, reading a book, planning her day, gets up at 6. Like this was who she was, and she'd been that way for years. And then like PhD in nursing and like all the education, full life, taught classes in the evening. And probably I would say we had some anxiety. She's pretty type A, but I don't think medicated for it. And then she had a serious motor vehicle accident. We were on our way to the meeting together, drove separately, and when I got there, her car was in a pile. And then she ended up in the emergency department. I came down and saw her in the emergency department. She was kind of all a fuss. She was off for a while, and she came back. And her epilogue was she got some counseling. She had some change of life focus and integration of her spiritual beliefs. And what she said to me was, I think I gave away my life to my job. And I had a nanny because I could afford one, but because I was teaching classes in the evening. And my kids are like in their 20s now. And I think all of this, and my dad, it was all just to prove I wasn't a screw-up. And you look and you're like, did anybody think Tammy was a screw-up? But anyway, that was running her. And so it's always lovely when science like will write a research article about something that we're all like, yeah, that's like, everybody knows that. Like American Academy of Pediatrics is good for it, Terry. Like they'll come out with a study that says too much TV is bad. So for kids. But this one's similar, and it was like what we can learn from people who've had near-death experiences, and like Tammy. And the near-death experience, people who have had near-death experiences and then return more readily confront conflict, have a greater sense of gratitude and appreciation for life, have a shift in priorities and values, experience spiritual growth, and are more resilient for future challenges. And maybe the knowing smile is like, yeah, when you almost die and realize what it's worth and what other stuff isn't worth, does it make sense that you would be like, wow, maybe I had to go fix that. Maybe I had to go manage that relationship issue. So I think that I'm going to wrap it up here, Sandrine. Mm-hmm. But this is my very rapid fire moral of the story. I tried to pull a lot of things from life experiences and from these patients. If we're going back to the triangle for a minute, if we're going back to the triangle on the bottom of the triangle, and how are we going to embrace life's end? Really hard to embrace something that looks painful and that's fearful and to mitigate that risk, this one's the most concrete ever, right? You could have less pain and less difficulty in the end of life if you take care of yourself during, and I hear you guys all talking about living your life now. And then advanced directives. No regrets. Don't make the decision under pressure. Sit down, know what you want. I could do a whole nother talk on all the times that I've seen somebody hold on or go through the treatment or suffer so that my wife doesn't have to suffer. Like, I'm the one with illness and I'm going to suffer so my wife has, or I'm going to pick what my kids would want me to do. And when you finally put them all in one room, they're like, no, that's not what we want for you. And so many times people won't own what they want, much less write it down. So advanced directives, know what you want, know what you don't want. I'm not judging if somebody wants to like fight and go through the difficulty and the uphill and the discomfort in order to get somewhere they want to get. But don't think about that when you're in the fray. Next thing up in the triangle, if we're still using the triangle, you can have decent relationships, in fact, with your family members or your support system. And then when there's nothing that pulls harder on those ties than the threat of those ties no longer existing, i.e. you're dead. And so facing death can make things come out of relationships. You're like, I thought this relationship was good. And then the stress of an impending death or mortality sometimes can disrupt even those relationships. And so when you know what those things are, fortify those relationships, mend those relationships. Be like Tammy and be like somebody who just had a car accident and like, is this really how I want to go out? Is there something out there in my house that's not in order? Or do I need counseling? This is a big one. Okay, so top of the triangle. Top of the triangle, and again, I hear you all talking about it, and I love it. But are you living the top of your triangle? I think people, this values assessment, there are tools out there. The American Psychological Association has one. Ikigai, if you've heard of it, IKI, is a little bit similar. But the idea being that you know, at least with a values assessment, knowing what you believe, and then having some kind of like, I believe in autonomy, I believe in charity, I believe, and then once you have that list, is that how you're living your life? And I think that when we're counseling, that like don't wait to the last 6 months of life to do all the things that you know you should do. Integrated values, memories more than money. I think that it is a great thing for people to want to pass on resources in the form of money or inheritance. However, I think that memories abide longer, and so I'm not trying to preach at you, but more like the practical advice that I've seen as a geriatrician. There probably is a certain generation, many of them passed by now, but those born in the 30s who I think things were so hard that it feels like I could give nothing greater than give you money. And then as time has gone on, I think my advice has started to be more and more, go spend some of the inheritance now and go to Hawaii together. And your grandkids can remember that experience. You want to know, everyone starts thinking at the end of life, well, what is my legacy or what am I leaving behind? And again, no disrespect to leaving money and assets behind, but don't neglect leaving memories behind. And then, and then this one's kind of deep. This is not doctor mode, but I would say that heritage, like the next line after like money and then memories, is when we work on ourselves. You know, I think of Sophia and so many patients like her. Remember Sophia is the one who had kind of a rough life and smoked, but then had a business, and she's doing good things and she's pulling herself out of it. But if I told you that my made-up character Sophia was molested and that her dad was an alcoholic and beat the junk out of her all the time. And she said, I'll never do that. I will never be that. And her kids didn't ever experience anything like that. It was never part of their normal. That is a heritage. And I'm not intimating that anyone here is in that exact spot. But what I am saying is when we address the things in our triangle at whatever age, we establish a normal for our kids who then can pass that higher normal on. Said another way, not to get too personal, but we adopted we adopted 3 sons, and they were in an orphanage until they were 10, 11, and 13. And there were things that I feel like I was unable to give them. In terms of I struggled to I can't imagine not brushing my teeth every day. That's a silly one, right? It would just be gross. It would feel bad. And the morning routine was so much work for them. They had grown up with so much chaos. And after a while, I think I recognized that sometimes what we have the first bit of our life has such a deep impact that we're really determining someone's future. So give that to your people. That's really all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Lots of food for thought, for sure. In the announcement sheet that you have in your bulletin of service, there are a couple of resources I would like to just mention briefly. I brought this book called A Beginner's Guide to the End, and gosh, this book is really great, like very practical advice for living life and facing death, and it's a good resource that I wanted to share with you today. Another one is that I'm in contact with a UU church in Florida. And they are hosting once a month, every Monday night, a Zoom call where it's kind of a death cafe where we gather. There is no agenda for those calls other than just talk about death or anything that feels related to death. And I attended a couple of them, and beautiful group of people, very open-minded, and a safe space to talk about it. So it's another resource that I added. And I have a dear friend in Canada who is a life celebrant, and she put together a course to help you write your legacy. And it's an amazing tool to think about your life and think about what you want to leave to the future generations. It's a great resource as well. And we have I'm not sure she's a member here, but she used to be a guest speaker and come to also before she moved to Rapid City. Beth Walls-Davis is a death doula and a great woman to talk to for that topic, and she's a great resource as well. So I just wanted to mention that. And I'm very looking forward for the discussion after the service downstairs. Let's sing the third song, page 3. Oh, the offering first. Yes, absolutely. Sorry for that. Yes, let's take the time now for the offering. We ask you for your help to do the work of our congregation with that offering, and half of the collection today will go towards Banquet West for the next 2 months. So, yeah, thank you for the reminder, Carol. And now it's time for the third song, page 354, We Laugh, We Cry, from your hymnal book. Thank you. I would like to take the time to thank you for giving to All Souls, and let's do it a little backward this time, but please join me in saying the words to receive the offering that we just had. The words are in your bulletin of services. We give these gifts freely. We receive these gifts gratefully. We dedicate these gifts to the work of our congregation, serving human wholeness, caring for our planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, loving one another. And our final reading for today is page 557 from your hymnal book. I will read the Roman text, and you will help me read the italicized. A common destiny. All living substance, all substance of energy, being, and purpose are united and share the same destiny.
All people, those we love and those we know not, are united and share the same destiny.
Birth to death, we share this unity with the sun, earth.
Our brothers and sisters, strangers.
Flowers of the field, snowflakes, volcanoes, and moonbeams.
Birth, life, death, unknown, known, unknown.
Our destiny from unknown to unknown.
May we have the faith to accept this mystery and build on its everlasting truth.
Words from the UU David Eden. And to close this service, I'm going to now extinguish the chalice. The chalice is extinguished, but the light goes out into the world. The fellowship time now is going to be downstairs in the Eliza's kitchen, and we will be back upstairs for the circle discussion in about 15 minutes, 11:20. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Carol.